Hi everyone, we are Familia One Group. I'm Yenny Chu.
I'm
And,
Ashley Lindsay.
and I'm Monty.
And I'm Danica.
So,
Arr.
so
Yeah.
the first slide, the one of the main point we learn in our class is the Tucson band, including band the Mexican America Antique Study, as well as certain books they're using in these classes. Here's a statement we quote in the no reader is illegal by Professor Coronado, Professor Giardino, and Professor Silva. The Tucson Unified School District banned its thriving Mexican-American study program and censored beloved text taught in the program. Bigoted, short-sighted legislators and school administrators have tried to keep hidden from young readers in 21st century public education classroom the students' own stories. So the next slide. Here's a video about debating on democracy between John Huppenthal and Richard Martinez. So in the video, Superintendent of Public Instruction John Huppenthal said he has read this book that had been banned to familiarize himself with issues in hand, but what he concerned about is how those books had been used. And he emphasized again it's okay for people to use these books in class, but they should be very careful. For example, if we find a teacher who wasn't using it to explore the issues critically, but using it as Bible, then it will be very horrible. So this is how teachers cross the line in the school.
Oh, can I add something? So the video, it's about 30 or 40 minutes long, and that's why we're not gonna play it in this hangout, but we're gonna be posting a link under the video somewhere where we're gonna be posting this video. So if you guys want, you can check out the video.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to explain what being played in the video.
Yeah, and you just explain the concept of what's explained in the video. So go ahead.
So, on the other hand, Tucson attorney Richard Martinez, who represents students and teachers, made a disagreement to his debate opponent. He said, what has occurred here is that Huppenthal has taken away from our entire community a curriculum that was adopted by our school board, that was developed by our school district, and that has successfully operated for well over 10 years. It's just part of the same kind of tactic that has been employed in the Arizona reflected by 1070, the anti-immigrant perspective. It's the anti-Latino perspective that exists in this state. So basically, this is one of the main points they were arguing in this video. So next slide is the author Morel mentioned how the student feeling about banned books and banning Mexican American study in their school. Students said the banned books were seized from their classroom and out of their hands. After Tucson School banned Mexican American study, including a book of photo of Mexico, crying, students said it was like Nazi Germany, and they were unable to sleep since it happened. And the next slide, here are 7 books that have been confiscated, such as Critical Race Theory, 400 Years of Chicano History in Pictures, Message to Aztec, Occupy America, Chicano, The History of Mexican Civil Rights Movement, and Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and finally, Rethinking Columbus, The Next 500 Years. And many of texts among this book are collected and organized in the book No Reader is Illegal.
2 articles that we're focusing on is the first one called Canada Apologizes to Its Native People by Bob Peterson, and a little poem called Legal Alien by Pat Mora. And the first article, the Canada related one, is when the Canadians apologized publicly to the native people because of their past treatment, and they pledged to support native self-government. And also the government decided to focus on problems such as jobs and suicide and poverty rates. And also this initiative was hailed by the head of the National Assembly of the Indian Chiefs as a, quote, historic opportunity. And then there were cases before the Canada apologized, that there were cases of students that were beaten, raped, and had suicides relative to schools at which there was the bad treatment happened. So then the guy named Phil Fontaine, who is the Grand Chief of the Assembly of First Nations, pointed out that this was the time when they needed to apologize and embrace the native people that were of Canada. And in the article, Gerald Morin, who's president of the Métis National Council of the native people, said that this initiative offers very little because it still excludes them from getting land claims that could lead to self-government, which shows that Canada might still not fully give them everything back, but somewhat. And then the next poem, or the next article, is next slide. The Legal Alien poem. It's basically about a Mexican American who feels unaccepted from both sides of his heritage. From the American part, he's fluent in English but viewed as a Mexican, and as a Mexican, he is viewed as an American, but he stays true to his Mexican tradition. And the one interesting part of the poem is the part which says, their eyes say, quote, you may speak Spanish, but you're not like me. That shows how they managed to treat this Mexican American differently by just basically picking on both sides of his bicultural.
Can you repeat that? What was the line?
The line was it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 12th line in the poem, and it starts off. It's in parentheses, and it's their eyes say, quote, you may speak Spanish, but you're not like me, end quote. I picked that's the most interesting quote because it's in the parentheses, which is if you take it out, the poem's not affected, but because it's there in parentheses, it shows a more deeper view into how important this discrimination is in terms of this poem. How we relate these two is that that this poem is talking about discrimination and how the individual feels it, and then the other article about Canada, it's you can see Canada as a country did this type of discrimination to its people in the form of which is similar to that poem. And yeah, that's to summarize it up.
So it's discrimination from your own people, right?
Yeah, from who you live with.
So it's he's speaking Spanish just because he looks. Was he Mexican?
He's both Mexican, Mexican American.
So yeah, just because he looks Mexican, the other Mexicans that are around him that speak Spanish, they might.
They make fun of him for that.
They're making fun of him just because he's brought up in a different culture than them, but in reality he's just he looks just like them, but he acts and talks like any other American, right?
Yeah.
So and so the discrimination is there. You want to talk about the racism?
Yeah. So the definition of racism is as stated on the slide, and then picked out from the article. The first Canada example says in it, like I picked out a part of it, and it's initiative off that I basically stated before, in which Canada did not give the natives like the ability to have its own land because Canada, I think, is scared of them having their own self-government, which is still being racist, even though they like promised to be more kinder towards the native after a brutal history of not being like kind to them. And then in the poem, it was what we were discussing before as how he's viewed by Mexicans as an alien and as American to Mexicans and Mexican to Americans. So what we were talking about how he speaks Spanish, but to the other Spanish people he speaks English too, and to the English people he speaks Spanish. So they see racism in that.
What's the difference? Yeah, what's the difference between discrimination and racism? Kind of.
Discrimination is like on a larger scale with a larger group of people.
Yeah, for
And
any group, not necessary to be race. Can be a gender, job, or anything.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, racism is just toward one race, right?
yeah.
So, do you guys think when you're just like that one example, for the Mexican person, his other family members or friends who are Mexican, they're uh, not treating him right. Where does that fit in? Is that racism or discrimination?
Can you say that again?
Remember the example of the Mexican guy where he was brought up here in the U.S. and his peers who are Mexican, they were not treating him right just because he acts and talks just like in Americans. So where does that fit in? Is that racism, discrimination?
I would stick to racism.
Racism towards your own race. Yeah. Like, yeah, that could be it. It's hard to judge because it's not towards a certain race. They're discriminating within themselves. So it's like,
What is discrimination and racism today? There is a law in Arizona that requires everyone to have paperwork showing that they're a citizen and not illegal, because police can go up to you and just ask you for paperwork for no reason, just to check your status and make sure that you're not illegally being in the country. And there's this thing called the U.S. government's no-fly list, which is basically a list of names of people who are a threat to our country, and they can't fly to our country, out of our country, or anywhere over our country.
so they show me your paper now. That's really weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of messed up, right?
Yeah. Because Arizona is near the border, so they're expecting a lot of the Hispanics to just be there illegally, so they can ask anyone for paperwork, even if you're an American-born.
That would suck for someone who's born and lived there and Hispanic and just minding his own business, at least coming up to them and asking for papers.
Then the next slide is the Trayvon Martin case versus Marley Lyon. So Trayvon Martin was an African-American 17-year-old, and Marley Lyon was an American who was also 17. They're both shot and killed, but Trayvon Martin was shot by a half-white, half-Hispanic man, and Lyon was shot by an African-American. So why was Trayvon Martin's case on national TV while Marley Lyons was not so much known. Which comes to another part of racism because Martin was shot by a Hispanic.
Okay, so which one is which on these pictures? Who's who?
Oh, Trayvon Martin on the left, Marley Lyon on the right.
So, make a change. You can help to minimize discrimination in your community by doing many things. You can create multicultural social groups, either on or off campus, just to get some people together and make friends and spread the word about the discrimination that's going on in the neighborhood or try to fix it. Help fight for the underdog because there's a lot of people that get bullied or teased or discriminated against for their race or their ethnic background. And there's not enough people who stand up and fight and tell everybody else that it's wrong, basically. So help them out, help to minimize discrimination, and you can do more than just that. You can help educate people on discrimination that's going on in the news. You can talk to, was I supposed to tell you next slide?
Fine, just
Okay.
go ahead.
You can also help out by educating people you know about discrimination in the news. You can talk to different elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools about discrimination and racism and help to let them know that morally it's just wrong and help to promote justice. And you can use social media outlets also to help spread the word too. Go beyond your community and talk about how discrimination is wrong and it's not okay and that racism is a terrible, terrible thing.
Yep. It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any last words for racism and how we prevent it?
Huh?
Any last words? Like,
Am I gonna die?
do you guys have any personal experience or racism?
Not really, but well,
Or anything that
I
you
do. It's not really about me. It's because my cousin is Filipino and married a Hispanic. And usually around our area, they're portrayed as kind of violent. So some of my cousin's friends were kind of uncomfortable with the fact that her boyfriend was Hispanic. And I was like,
that's rude.
I don't know the guy. That's something I thought of.
Yeah, that is a big where the families are really cultural, and if you marry someone who's a different race, that's a big deal. Family and a family and friends of that individual.
The closest issue that I've had, like, personally with it is just that my best friend is, she's female, she's a quarter black, and she's gay. So she's, like, discriminated on multiple fronts all the time.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's hard. Oh yeah, in high school I was really, I didn't get as much racism, but I still got some, like, once in a while someone would come up and like calling Taliban or like terrorists or something, and but I would always say, just tell them that you're just making about what that's on TV. Like, I'm not even from that area, so it's like even people from that area are not all terrorists. So it's really hard for some people to get in their mind that everyone is not what news show how everyone in the area is. It's just hard for some individuals to get that in their mind.
Yeah, it got really bad after, like, 9/11 too.
Oh yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? Not funny, but messed up by the news. like right after 9/11, they took a picture from internet. Okay, let me show you the picture. I think I've seen that picture. Let me show you.
Do you have 2 monitors?
Yes.
Nice. I'm so jelly.
I do photo editing and video, so I need to have 2 monitors.
Mm.
Okay. Mm. Let me show you. Let's see.
How do I unmute you? Then?
Okay, so they showed. Let me just do the screen share. They showed this image. Can you guys see it?
I can see the picture, but not like.
Oh, let me. There you go.
Okay.
They showed this picture on the news saying that it was someone who looked like him that flew the plane into the World Trade Center. And it's really stupid to even find a random image on Google and just put it up on news saying that it's someone who looks like this person. And this guy, he's not even from that area. He's all the way from India, and it's really like, what are they thinking when they're doing this? Just put up a random picture from Google and just show it on the news. And from this picture, like, a lot of hate crimes happened in our community, and a lot, like, I think since 9/11, like 6 and 7 Sikh guys who were wearing turbans, they got shot. And
Here or like back home?
No, here, like a couple in California, and then one in Arizona, and then one in New York.
Damn.
And then recently there was a case in, what was the place name? Forgot. And then this this guy, he just goes into a temple and he just starts shooting people.
What?
Yeah, and that was a couple of months ago. Let me see. Hold on.
Was he like? Was he American or?
He just hated. He hated Muslims because of the media, like how they show. It's.
Well, the whole Boston incident really gave like the media a total like shoe-in to do that.
Yeah, it's really messed up how they show, how they put religion into. They frame these terrorists or so-called terrorists to these religion, and they tell them they're Islamic terrorists. It's really stupid. Like, Islam is a religion. It's followed by so many people, and they just tag everyone, saying that's the whole religion, and then they put the same name in terrorist. So it really gives a false image in everyone.
Gotta love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I hella lied. I have been discriminated against. I'm a lesbian. Duh. My life.
So what kind of discriminations have you experienced?
Me?
Yes.
Nothing really too bad, to be honest. Either that or I just didn't really pay attention to it because I had like my close circle of friends, and I don't know, they were there for me, so I just didn't really like care about everybody else.
Yeah,
But,
that helps a lot. Having good friends that support you with their decisions, that really takes you a long way.
Yeah, it definitely helped. When I was 18, before I chopped my hair off, I went to, California State Fair. and the ticket dude like was just an idiot. I had a hat on, but I had like an obvious ponytail, and well, you know, I'm not flat chested or anything. And the dude called me sir. I just laughed it off. I let it go. I get stared at a lot in public with my partner. I had a little kid. I went to Costco, and a little kid was eating food with his mom, and was like, "Is that a boy?" Well, that was funny. But like stuff like that, like it doesn't really faze me. I just kind of say like, I either say whatever, or I just like don't acknowledge it at all, because it just really doesn't get to me in any way anymore.
Would you say it's gotten a lot better with people's understanding now than a few years ago?
Yeah, definitely. When I was in like high school and middle school is when it was kind of really bad, but like at the same time, the people that it was really bad from were like the people that I went to school with, and their minds were underdeveloped, and they've changed a lot now. In fact, some of them have even come out and said that they're gay too. So I don't know, it just took time, but it's still like never really.
Yeah, I guess it's just having a conversation with someone who's from middle school or elementary, and just, you know, talking to them about it. Like before, like no one really told them or talked to them. It was when like, so during their whole middle school and half of high school, they've just been living under this shadow of, you know, that these people don't exist and no one tells them.
Hmm.
And I think if we just get the word out to them, like for me, I talk to my cousins. They're one is 7 and the other is 12. 12? No, she's 13, and then 15 and 16.
Mm.
And I talk to them a lot about these issues, and they're really cool about it. Like they support, like they're really decent about these issues. So it's cool. Like it's just the matter that you know you just gotta talk to them.
Well, kids, their minds decide what they want. It's when other people come along and like fill it with unnecessary bullshit that it gets bad.
Yeah, yeah. But if
Yeah.
you just let them, you know, be open-minded and just tell them, you know, this is what it is,
Mhm.
and if you want to take it, take it. If you don't like it, just, you know,
Leave
it's
it.
really up to you. So you just need to tell them to be open-minded rather than tell them what to think.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Agreed.
cool.